What would I, as a financial advisor, do if I was 30 with no savings? Stay with me. So, I became a financial advisor when I was 36 years old, and I've been in the field for over a decade. And there's certain things I certainly wish I would have known and would have done earlier. But one of my clients asked me what I would do if I was under the age of 30 to quickly build up savings. And I know this is on the mind of a lot of Americans because times have changed so much since I've been a young woman. And a lot of Americans don't even have $1,000 in their savings account. So this is what I, if I was under the age of 30, would do as a financial advisor to quickly build my savings if I was starting off with zero. First, I would automate things. Automation makes things a lot easier. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you go into the system to set up which bank account your paycheck is going to, you can actually put multiple bank accounts. So you can say, I want 10% of my paycheck to go to this account, and I want 90% of my paycheck to go to this account. Sometimes you can even do it by dollar amount. You can say, I want $100 to go here, and I want the rest to go to this other account. Automation, especially for people who are just starting out or people who are very young, makes things a lot easier. So, first things first, I would look into our payroll system at my 9 to 5 job to see if I can automate the process of savings. And if I could do without 10% of my paycheck, I would automate moving 10% of my paycheck every pay period to another savings account. Also, it's important that the savings account is earning some interest. It's also very important that savings account is not necessarily easily and directly accessible. A lot of high yield savings account at American Express, Barclays, place like that, it usually takes about 24 hours to get your money. And sometimes that friction stops people from making disastrous decisions and getting it into their hands and into immediately their checking and debit card account. Sometimes having that friction really can work in your favor. So, first things first, set up a savings account somewhere. A high yield savings account would be great. Then go into your payroll system to see if you can automate the movement of money from each pay period over into the savings account and start your savings that way. The next thing I would do, and I don't consider this a savings account, it's not a savings account, but another way to automate and another way potentially to save for the future. This is not emergency savings, but savings for the future is setting up an automatic retirement account. This can be automated if your company offers a 401k or Roth 401k program. You can go into the system and set up an automatic withdrawal of 5%, 10%, 15% per paycheck. I would strongly suggest at least matching into the match from your company. If your company does 6%, at least do 6%. If they do only 3%, at least do 3%. I recently came across kind of a company that was doing 10%. So if they're doing 10%, you do 10%. Whatever they match, just give them the match, at least up to that amount. I do not consider it a savings account. Technically, you can take a loan from a 401k plan in a time of need. I don't suggest it. Reason being, if you take a loan from a 401k plan and you are laid off or you leave that job, you have 90 days to repay that loan in full, or the 401k amount that you took out of the 401k is unfortunately considered a disbursement by the IRS and will be fully taxed at that point. And I have had situations where clients have taken money out of 401k as a loan and something happened to their job within a few months of taking that loan. And they ended up owing a significant amount of money to the IRS because it was reclassified as a disbursement for tax purposes. So, saving for retirement, especially if you're getting a match, is a good thing, but technically don't consider it part of your active savings. It's not an emergency savings fund and should not be considered or used as an emergency savings fund. The next thing that I would recommend for a lot of young people, and this is somewhat controversial, but can you live at home for a period of time? I do occasionally have clients who are great clients. They're very young, they're graduating from college or grad school, and they often have a significant amount of debt. One of the first questions I ask these people is, can you commit to living at home for 2 to 3 years while you get on top of this debt? And I will tell you from my own experience, the people who can live at home for 2 or 3 years or can set up a situation where they pay little to no rent the first 2 to 3 years out of grad school can really get on top of those student loans. Basically, they're putting away $4,000 or $5,000 a month into the student loans to get that amount down very quickly. And then after 2, 3 years, we take assessment of how much they owe on the student loans. It's often significantly less. And then they can make plans to move out and do what they want. And so I often say for people who are just graduating undergraduate or grad school and entering the workforce, live like a monk for at least 2 to 3 years. Don't buy a fancy car. Don't move out into a big apartment. If you can live at home and you can drive a beater for 2 or 3 years, do just that to get on top of your student loans. Once you've conquered a large part of your student loans, after 2 or 3 years, you can move out and you can continue your life and go on and do whatever you want to do. But a possibility for saving up a lot of money very quickly is, can you live at home? Can you raise your income? How long have you been at your current workplace? Can you ask for a raise? Sometimes I had clients who received raises because they realized that their colleagues who were working with them were being paid more, or they were not being paid enough given their level of skill and income. You should constantly be monitoring the market to see exactly how much money you are due and learn to advocate for yourself. If you are not being paid in alignment with your industry or in alignment with your colleagues, can you go and ask for more money? And if the company will not give you more money, don't be afraid to go out and look for a company that will pay you more money. But sometimes a matter of not having savings is just the matter that this person is not earning enough money given what they are bringing to the workplace. And we all must learn to advocate for ourselves. Closed mouths never get fed. But if you can earn more money, keep your lifestyle basically the same, and take that excess money and put it into savings, that's a really great way of building a savings account very quickly. Can you sell your car if you don't need it? I do occasionally come across clients that have a car that is sparsely used or almost never used, and it's this weird attachment to the car. They keep it, the car may actually be paid off. In the Bay Area in San Francisco, parking is very expensive, so they're often paying for parking, they're paying to insure it, they're paying to maintain it, and it moves maybe twice a month. In a situation like that where you really do not need a car and you really are not using it, can you just sell the car, get a lump sum of money, and make that your emergency savings? And this is becoming rarer and rarer because I think a lot of people in Gen Z and Gen Alpha have woken up that buying a car that hardly moves, parking it 23 hours a day really doesn't make much financial sense. But typically, older people, millennials and Gen Xers, still have a lot of unused cars. But that's a really quick way to build up your savings very quickly, is selling an unused vehicle. Next is side hustle time. Now, I'm not a huge fan of side hustles because I think your main hustle should be paying you enough money and have enough benefits in order for you to live comfortably. But the reality of our society is that many main hustles really don't pay enough money and people have to take on side jobs. Is there a hobby, an interest, a passion, something that you can do and do well enough that someone will pay you for doing it? Can you sell something, whether it's a skill or a project or something that you build or create online to bring in some extra cash? To start your emergency savings, you don't have to create a Fortune 500 business. You could sell something and $5,000 worth of it the first year and have an emergency savings in that. But if you're going to create a side hustle, make sure it's something that you actually enjoy doing. Things like Uber Eats, Lyft, DoorDash, things like that are often things that people don't enjoy too much and consume a lot of your time. So, side hustles, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of side hustles. Your main hustle should pay you more than enough to live. But if you need a side hustle, figure out something that you can do well, that you enjoy doing, that people will pay you for. Extra paychecks and bonuses. So some people are on a 26 payment per year cycle, and that means 2 months out of the year you get an additional paycheck. It's 2 additional paychecks per year, which can go towards savings. I've seen that less and less. More companies are moving to 24 pay period, but also some employers give bonuses, annual bonuses, quarterly bonuses, performance bonuses. If you're in alignment to receive bonuses, make sure that you get those bonuses, but you can use them to build out your savings. Next thing, equity stocks. Some people are fortunate enough to receive equity holding as part of their compensation. If you do receive equity holdings in stocks, a lot of people say that their emergency fund is the equity holding stocks, but you never know when those equity holding stocks may be down at a serious point in the market. You really do have to cash out some of that equity stock during a good market moment and put it into a savings account and keep that locked away in savings so that if worse comes to worse, you have cash liquid money to be able to rely on and having enough savings to get by. So there you have it. If I were 30 and I had no savings and I was just starting out, those are the things that I would focus on. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. And if you found this information useful, please share and subscribe.